from Cameroon, from Ukraine, and Mohammed from Iraq, to the state olive trees as a symbol to Archbishop to receive them as our gracious host. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And those trees and for those which are in your sister, it is a the second one lay our witness as people of faith to pray through the Christian as God moving up this display to name just seems from this my one what the first we see people we all prosperity at home. flag, not but in and it is this is what protection we are has been history. We are the, but the, the, it is difficult to which we but but gone and included and not them or I, can to the following to part of the relief grounds to continue we are to talk where we are people to welcome. We as Christians remember the New Testament, do not show strangers for by entertainment without knowing it. And for this, I you I both and it is We bless their let us pray, capture this change in Your Holiness. Your but in some because sisters and it's my he, and some God. Thank you. The podium yours, Holiness.
Good afternoon. Distinguished colleagues, celebrating 25th anniversary Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it is a special privilege to attend and address the assembly of religious leaders, divines, and people of goodwill in order and pray to consider urgent challenges in a world where uncertainty seems to be the reality faced by so many of our brothers across the planet. Climate and the refugee crisis are an external possibility far removed from our daily attention and responsibility. They are immediately and lives, our careers, and our life. We no longer have the false lie of ignorance or we are now directly contributing to the problem or decided to a solution. One of the lessons that we learned during the recent pandemic, albeit in a very painful and certainly involuntary manner, is that no one is saved alone. No one is saved unless everyone is saved. The threats is currently faced can be overcome in collaboration. And this is where partnership of religious communities proves to be essential and vital. Because of climate change or predicament, we are dealing with unprecedented challenges. even refer to them as crisis, which that signifies a pronouncement of judgment, crisis, precisely because we are measured by the way we respond to these circumstances. In other words, as they are turning points or that definitively shape our lives. In fact, what involves and pollution makes science, and immigration makes the way we respond to and choose to resolve these challenges is exactly where faith and religion should be involved. Throughout over the last decade, we have underlined that as the distinctive and defining of our time, global warming has become the greatest threat to the planet and its populations. The growing toll from rising global temperatures will and undeniably eclipse the current number of deaths from all the infectious diseases combined if change is not constrained. Environmental sustainability will only through drastic changes that we must make. That is why we have persistently and consistently underlined that climate change constitutes a spiritual and ethical issue, not only a governmental technological problem, as if it was merely one in a long list of dilemmas confronting politicians in particular and people in general. What religious leaders must always remember, and consequently remind civic leaders, is that there is no way of endlessly manipulating our government and its resources that comes without consequence, material or human. We know very well today, and as mystics have taught through the ages, intimately and inseparably bound up with the history, present, and destiny of our world. However, in order to create such a worldview, which is ultimately a worldview of frugality, simplicity, of gratitude and generosity, we must see the world as larger than ourselves and our interests. In other words, we must adopt a spirit of humility. We must be prepared to look at options and solutions that affect us personally and not other people. Unfortunately, so often we are convinced that solving the ecological crisis is a matter of differently or living more sustainably. But we should never that it is our very options and actions that led us to this mess in the first place. Paradoxically, the answer may lie not in doing something, as in doing nothing, which brings us to the importance of silence and meditation. First, stop what we are doing and reflect. First, learn to listen and understand how we handle this crisis. First, we must accept our sinfulness toward the planet and other people, so that we can acknowledge the need for repentance, which involves a literal and radical change of mind, heart, and behavior. This is the way. This is the way of the mystics, and this is the way of those who realize that the earth is the Lord and all thereof, του Κυρίου η γη και το πλήρωμα αυτής in Greek. And this is why our moment of silence is the most appropriate action here today. Let us therefore beseech God to be merciful and compassionate on us and His people, especially those in need and displaced. Let us imagine a world where peace and justice prevail, where violence and discrimination are dispelled, where dignity are effectively protected. And let us open our hearts to solidarity with refugees, as well as to respect and protection of the unique gift of God's creation that we are called to transmit to our children. Thank you, Your Eminence. Thank you, my brothers and sisters.
As UNHCR, we would like to express our gratitude to His All Holiness for his words of wisdom and his tireless activism, both for humanitarian causes as well as environmental activism. So thank you very much, because today brings us together on the climate change and induced displacement thematic area. But before we hear our delegates that we're very honored to host today, the gracious hostship of World Council of Churches, our long-term partner together with Religions for Peace, Interfaith Alliance for Safer Communities, our partners and yourselves who came from different parts of the world with big delegations representing different faith traditions. We are so honored to also we will be hosting you in the coming days at the Global Refugee Forum. And to open this space for our religious leadership delegates after this key address, I would like to invite for some special remarks our refugee speaker to start with, Mohammed Hussein Suleiman, a member of the Global Youth Advisory Council, along with UNHCR Gulf representative and senior advisor Khalid Khalifa. If I can invite you both to both sides of the stage, because being a refugee and telling the story just like we heard in that beautifully curated interreligious prayer is one thing, and being a humanitarian worker is another thing as well. So we would like to commemorate that together, if I may just invite you both. Thank you.
Hello everyone. It's an honor to join this event today and such an important topic is the role religious leaders in promoting peace. I am Muhammad. I come from Kurdistan, Iraq, and I am the blessed person. Iraq, I have Bachelor Peace and Human Rights Department, and I also member of Global Youth Advisory Council UNHCR. During studies, I founded group named Youth Peace, and all from different religious background, different regions, different nations. I think peace building and peaceful and coexisting and social cohesion in our society. Through our activities, we want peace in our society, and how religion has great influence as a force for peace, especially as many religious actors and religious institutions be part of conflict resolution. In fact, religious competence and religious institution working to mitigate conflict, assisted those sovereign energy here today given the complex roles of religions in peace and their unique conflict with their contacts. It is important to continue efforts like so that different can engage in peace-building activities, and we can ensure that peoples of different religions can live together in peace and harmony. And thank you very much.
Your all Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We live times, as the Assistant High Commissioner mentioned this morning, we are talking about more than 110, to be exact, 114 million people who are forcibly displaced. The role of religious leaders cannot be more important than during these difficult times. My message to all May is this dialogue outside the borders of these rooms, to make sure that we do not own ourselves to messages, to make sure that whatever we agree in closed rooms like these do not end only in textbooks, in communication, in messages, because that we need more than that. We need to make sure that faith is taken, the leadership is played, is actually doing concrete to correct live in. We to apply a few Islamic philanthropy, and I have the honor of leading this program within the organization. We decided advocacy is very, but we need much more than that. We started work, and since 2000 until now, very proud that we raised more than 220 million to assist more than 27 countries. That's the type we hope that I hope hands, and we see more. We do only do philanthropy. I'm really dreaming of the day we have a multi-religious for UNHCR, a multi-religious council that can. We have recently signed another project with the Islamic Development Bank, invest $110 million, and we are using the return refugees. The ideas are unlimited, and the sky is the limit. So I encourage you to think maybe opportunity in the future where we can speak about concrete and make a real difference for people in need. Thank you very much.
Thank you to both speakers. It's my pleasure to invite
Your Holiness, Your Excellencies, dear brothers and sisters. These are as leaders. Please recognize family for a little bit harder. It is shockingly easy. Acceptable members. The many countries present a startling human with religious leaders to the and to promote it. Please of our faith. Secondly, the humble contribution we petition with we bring well-being and success in life. With of people, thirdly, countries of and a land. Drive people away from their natural habitat. When we save the environment, we save ourselves and we save future generations. Fourthly, refugees urge religious leaders to borrow and to amplify the words of Pope Francis to welcome, promote, protect, and integrate refugees in their various communities. It is therefore imperative to fight prejudice, xenophobia, racism, and the fear of migrants and refugees. The promotion of compassion and human dignity ought to filter down to the ordinary people so that they become the promoters of the dignity of every different person they encounter. Fifthly, refugees expect religious leaders to encourage non-discriminatory employment policies and practices. Employment enhances the dignity of a working person. The major aspiration of refugees is to find employment. Employment is the key to liberation, to personal fulfillment, and to assuming full family responsibility. Sixthly, we fervently ask the religious leaders not to slow down in encouraging governments to become signatories to the United Nations Convention on Statelessness. Statelessness impacts negatively on children's right to access education and healthcare services. Statelessness denies children the right to be children. Is it too much to ask to let children be children and not to be buried under the rubble as it is happening currently in Gaza? Refugees agree with the religious leaders that refugees should not infringe on the laws of the host country. The commitment of crimes by a few refugees increases fear and prejudice among the local people. And so respect for laws and local tradition can only promote a spirit of welcome and mutual appreciation. Finally, it is imperative that religious leaders continue to hear directly from the refugees themselves. This is an appeal, a fervent prayer of all refugees throughout the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Your Eminence. Reverend Ann Burgard, if I may please invite you, Reverend General Secretary of Lutheran World Federation. Thank you.
Your All Holiness, honorable religious leaders, esteemed participants, I bring you greetings from the Lutheran World Federation, which has had work with refugees and service to the needy as one of its 4 founding pillars since its foundation. Today we gather as religious leaders, united in our commitment to climate peace and solidarity with refugees. We find ourselves in a time of climate emergency, witnessing an ever-increasing number of migrants and internally displaced people due to the impacts of climate change. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has stated that nearly half of the world's population, approximately 3.6 billion people, are currently highly vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. And we know that this number is projected to rise if global temperatures continue to increase. We cannot ignore the millions of people facing displacement because of climate change and migration due to the surge in extreme weather events related to climate change. This situation disproportionately affects vulnerable populations that lack sufficient coping capacities. At the 13th Assembly, the Lutheran World Federation stated clearly that we commit ourselves to be more effective advocates for economic and climate justice and to safeguard the planet and its resources for future generations. Together we affirm that creation is not for sale. This commitment is intertwined with the Lutheran World Federation's on-the-ground work with refugees, both through our World Service country programs, but also through our member churches. And this enables us to respond to the needs of refugees and to collaborate with diverse faith actors within our networks and local communities. Globally, we celebrate our collaboration with interfaith partners such as the Jewish humanitarian organization HIAS and Islamic Relief Worldwide, as well as ecumenical partners such as Caritas Internationalis. These partnerships, built on our call for a faith-sensitive approach to refugee response, have laid a crucial foundation over the years to strengthen our joint commitment to climate peace in solidarity with refugees. I would like to reiterate the contributions of young people. At COP28, which is now concluding, the LWF joined forces with ecumenical and interfaith partners to give voices from the ground, a global platform advocating for more urgent action and putting the approach from local to global into practice. For years, young people from our churches have played a significant role in leading the way forward. And allow me to quote two of them today. Eric Boniface Kapira from Tanzania says, "The people who are affected by climate change, we live with them in local communities. So as youth, we need to use our ability to make a change and to help them to live in a beautiful world." And Ole Andreas Grøde Børnes from Norway, "I believe God has called us to love our neighbor, and this includes not only the people in our own neighborhood, but also our neighbors across the globe who are experiencing the impacts of climate change. Every engagement in climate change for climate justice is a small seed of love of the hands of God." Young people bring faith, hope, and peace together, urging the religious leaders to support climate adaptation efforts. These efforts aim to protect vulnerable communities, and we know that refugees are among the most vulnerable. In this Global Refugee Forum, our faith calls us not only to care for the earth, but also to foster conditions that will enable all people to coexist as neighbors on this planet, our common home. And we know that as human beings, we are closely interconnected with each other, but also with other living beings on earth. So we need to foster peaceful and respectful relations with each other. And allow me to end with the words of my fellow countryman, the Estonian composer Arvo Pärt, who once said, "Humanity is one whole organism, and human existence is only possible in relation to other living beings. Therefore, the concept of relationship must be regarded as the guiding principle, as the capacity to love." Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Dr. Burgard. Among us, there is His Eminence Metropolitan Emmanuel, Elder Metropolitan of Chalcedon, member of Religion for Peace, UNHCR, Multi-Religious Council of Leaders, as well as member of Central and Executive Committee of the World Council of Churches. Your Eminence, platform is yours.
Your Holiness, dear esteemed religious leaders, and ladies and gentlemen. Of course, this afternoon we are not here to compete who will say more words of wisdom, because we have heard enough so far. So believe me, I am not in the spirit. I was just, and looking at the time that's going on, I think we should be very short, but I was just thinking that in the ancient Greek world, we had 12 gods. And the stranger was the one that was protected by the first of them, the father of the gods, Zeus or Jupiter. So you see in which way the stranger in this society of ancient Greeks had a privileged place. And from that time, where this was called then philoxenia, hospitality, we end up in our society of 21st century, where we come to the other end of xenophobia. It has the same word, xenos, the stranger. But the one is with a lot of compassion, a lot of interest, and on the other hand, with a lot of hatred. And this is where we come now to do our own metanoia, to do our own change of mind. Change of mind in the way that we see things going around us, with the protection of the strangers, of the refugees, in the protection of the environment, because everything is connected, believe it or not. And that's why we are here. To make, from all of us, from the different communities, one soul commitment to change this for better, to change our world. And we need just to believe, to commit, and to implement. That's why I always say that we are all called, in a way, to go back to school, even if we are older, in order to learn how to look to the stranger, to look and welcome the refugee, and to respect more our home, which is our planet. Thank you.
Evaristopoli, Your Eminence, and trust me, to just like Your Eminence said, with his wisdom and wits as well, that there's no competition of wisdom, because it is just so wonderful to see all this universal representation here, and to save time as well on that wisdom. Otherwise, don't worry. We are really conversant with Archbishop Aykazian, actually. We've been conversing in our different linguistic and cultural ways as well that we share. But we will move on to that after the coffee break, hopefully a bit more, space. We want to really capture as much as possible in this segment your wisdom and your messages, key messages and inspiration for us, as it is being web streamed as well. So I would like to invite Reverend Kyochi Sugino, President, Rishoko Kai Gakurin Seminary. He was also the former Deputy Secretary General of Religions for Peace. Thank you.
Your Holiness, esteemed colleagues, religious communities and faith-based organizations in Japan, represented here by Japan Buddhist Federation, Soka Gakkai, Myochi Kai, Arigato International, and Rishoko Sekai, join the world faith communities today to live our religious and spiritual values and renew our commitment to further strengthening engagement and solidarity with refugees through religious, our own religious, multi-religious, and multi-stakeholder partnerships. As High Commissioner stressed during his visit to Japan in October, a vicious cycle has been created where migration by climate refugees leads to conflict, and each conflict brings yet more refugees. To advance global solidarity, Reverend Kosho Niwano, in the Religions of Peace UNHCR Multi-Religious Council leaders, participated in the Council's mission to Moldova to call for global solidarity with refugees, facilitate collaborations among diverse stakeholders, and strengthening networks and support systems on the ground. As one of the international engaged Buddhist movements and rooted in core teachings of the Lotus Sutra, reverence for Buddha nature, the inherent dignity of all living beings, bodhisattva practice, manifesting wisdom and compassion, and the celebration of unity in diversity through the One Buddha vehicle. Risshoku Sekai has engaged its spiritual, moral, and social capacities and networks, 238 Dharma centers across Japan, and 56 centers internationally joined Donate a Meal movement and organized fundraising campaigns to provide substantial and timely contributions provided by individual members. And those contributions have reached $3 million to support the UNHCR's refugee assistance. Risshoku Sekai has also engaged in equipping Syrian refugees, students, with educational opportunities through private sector initiatives and supporting displaced persons in Ukraine, neighboring countries, and within Japan by providing assistance, dispatching volunteers, and setting up distribution centers, warehouses for relief supplies in Japan. Dear esteemed colleagues, as people of faith, we know that it is critical to educate younger generations to cultivate virtues of respecting and welcoming refugees. Virtues are habitual orientation to values. Values have to be lived every day to form one's personalities. The Dream Bag Project fostered children-to-children solidarity with refugees. Over the years, Risshoku Sekai's support extended to conflict zones and refugee camps, including Afghanistan, Gaza, and the West Bank, offering over 1.1 million school supply bags crafted by Japanese students and families. Addressing root causes remains a crucial aspect, as evidenced by the Tokyo Peace Roundtable convening in Japan. Religious leaders and government officials from conflict-affected nations, including Syria, Ukraine, and Russia. A multi-religious setting can offer a safe and open space of dialogue for reconciliation and peace building. This endeavor continues in 2024, and next meeting will take place in February in Japan. Together with world faith communities, we renew our vows to scale up integral and holistic support for refugees through love and compassion in action, multi-religious engagement, and multi-stakeholder partnerships. Let us together deepen our shared prayer and action. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Reverend Soingo. Now it's my pleasure to invite His Eminent Baha'i Sahib Mohinder Singh, Guru Nanak Nisham Sevak Janta, member of Religions for Peace, as well as UNHCR Multi-Religious Council of Leaders.
Dear brothers and sisters, reverend, religious leaders, all participants in the Refuge Forum, accept Sikh greetings. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. May success come your way and peace be upon you. I am Bhai Sahib Mohinder Singh, spiritual leader and chairperson of Nishkam Group of Organizations based in Birmingham, UK. Let us not forget that all of us are spiritual migrants or refugees. We are domiciled on this planet, caring mother planet, transitorily for a short while. This is not our home. There are three questions. Where have we come from? Where will we end up? What is the purpose of life? If we have not answered these three questions, we don't know where we are going. It would be terrible. It's very, very important. Let us seek peace. Peace within ourselves. If we have no peace within ourselves, there will be no peace outside us. And this is important if we want to have peace in the family, in the society, within humanity globally. My faith emphasizes that all of us sitting here are divine sparks. We all report to one and only one God. So we are in a way brothers and sisters. So where is the need for hate, ridicule, and so on? There is no need for that. But unless we have peace, we will generate no peace outside. I want to say here something which was the vision of the Peace Charter for Forgiveness and Reconciliation which we have formulated. I'm reading the preamble. The vision of the Peace Charter for Forgiveness and Reconciliation is that the process of forgiving is vital if healing and reconciliation are to take place as part of our collective efforts to seek justice, harmony, and sustainable peace. That was the preamble. The purpose, in one line, we people, mindful of our shared humanity, commit to practice and nurture forgiveness and reconciliation to foster healing, harmony, justice, and sustainable peace in the world. This was adopted by the Peace Organization, International Religions for Peace International. It was launched in the House of Lords in the British Parliament. And we are going to launch it in many other countries. Unless we forgive ourselves, we don't know how to forgive others. So forgiveness begins with yourself. But without forgiveness, you will not resolve conflicts on a sustainable basis. For a short while, people might say, yes, it is done, but no, sorry. You have to forgive. It is probably one of the most powerful human emotions. It is a divine emotion. All the prophets of this world used forgiveness. All the mothers of this humanity, they use forgiveness. So I am then forced to quote from UNESCO's preamble. It was written some 79 years ago. It said, "Since wars begin in the minds of men, it is in the minds of men that the defenses of peace must be constructed." Have we done it? Do we know what our mind does? Do you know how to control your mind? Only faith will teach you that. So there is a global God divide. There is a disconnect with God. When you disconnect with God, you disconnect with all creation. You have no appreciation, no love, no respect for nobody. UN, if I must say, I find is now not fit for purpose. It has a mandate for peace from 1944. So why we are not having peace? Simply, we did not take into account religion or faith as a partner on equal footings. 85% of the people are connected with religion. We keep hearing that. That's a big constituency. And the other problem is the democratic model with veto powers. People don't let you proceed. 2 wars are raging. Children are dying as we stand here. Nobody can stop it. 193 countries, 193 nations. There's something drastically wrong. So the democratic model has to be refined. And we have to connect up with God. If we do that, everything will fall in the perspective. There will be peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Eminence. You know, the doctor tells that human brain cannot concentrate more than 1.5 hours on a serious subject, so the time is ready for coffee break. So please come back 4:45. At 4:45 back. Thank you.
start with a photograph because our photographers want to take a media photo with everyone. Yes.
Okay. Just become the number of the.
Our esteemed delegates, if we may just before we start, if we can have an energizing photo with you so that it can be attached to our press release that's coming out right after your, yeah.
Don't be shy.
Please, we invite you all to the stage. Thank you. Of course. With the olive trees, I'll just thank you. Thank you very much. So if we may have the honor of having yourselves, please.
I'm tall, I'll stand down. That's very true.
Please come. Everyone.
We will accommodate. Please, we would like to invite all our delegates here. I couldn't, please.
Okay.
Please, let's have you everywhere, visible, as much as visible. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for honoring us. Again, with the refugee, so that we actually everything close with you.
Okay. Are you going to speak about news?
I'll just invite you.
Okay.
And if we may please take our seats with our tradition of opening every session with our esteemed refugee speakers speaking to their expertise, speaking to their experience as well as stories. I would like to invite Ms. Nur Aziza, who is a Rohingya refugee living in Australia, and she is the head of Rohingya Collaborative Network. Nur, may I have you on the stage, please? Thank you, to deliver your special remarks.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Nur Aziza, and I stand before you today as a voice for the Rohingya people, an indigenous community from Arakan in Myanmar, who have faced untold hardships and injustices for far too long. I was born in Arakan. I have been stateless for 8 years and a half, finding refuge in Australia in 2003. Today, I represent not just my personal journey, but the collective struggle of the Rohingya, a people who have faced persecution through structural, direct, and cultural violence. The Rohingya genocide, a tragedy that has unfolded since 1942, that makes 81 years today, has left a mark on our history. As a population with a Muslim majority, along with a small percentage of Christians, Buddhists, and Hindus, we have been targeted by the Myanmar government and a Buddhist nationalist and extremist simply because of our faith. Our religious freedom has been systemically stripped away, and the atrocities against us extend beyond physical violence. Mosques, the sanctuaries of our faith, have been forcibly shut down, robbing us of the ability to assemble for prayers and community events. The destruction of our mosque stands as a stark symbol of the oppression we endure, hindering our spiritual connection and communal solidarity. Moreover, the restrictions on religious gatherings and limited access to religious education further exacerbate the erosion of our cultural and religious heritage. Our identity is under threat, and the very essence of what makes us Rohingya is being systematically dismantled. But our struggle extends beyond the borders of Myanmar. In Aceh, Indonesia, we witness the alarming rise of hate speech and xenophobic remarks. Just recently, a boat carrying innocent lives, including children and babies, was heartbreakingly turned away. A mother, with desperation in her eyes, had to throw her child into the ocean due to starvation. A harrowing testament to the dire consequences of intolerance and indifference. In the face of such atrocities, the role of religious leaders and interfaith dialogue becomes paramount. Religious leaders have the power to transcend boundaries, fostering understanding, empathy, and cooperation among communities. It is through dialogue that we can address the root causes of forced displacement and work towards promoting peaceful coexistence. We call upon religious leaders to stand in solidarity with the displaced, to amplify our collective voice against persecution, and to champion the cause of peace. Together, we can forge a path towards a future where every individual, regardless of their faith, can live free from fear, discrimination, and displacement. Thank you for your attention, and may our collective efforts pave the way for a more compassionate and harmonious world. Thank you.
Thank you, Noor. I just want to assure you that we will never forget the suffering of Rohingyas, and we are going to defend as much as power and strength and wisdom we have. Thank you very much for your speech. Now, it's my honor to invite Mr. Jong Soo Chong, President, Korean Conference of Religious and Peace, to the podium. Please, please, keep your speeches brief, because we have a list of speakers, then we have a statement, so it will take time. If you don't want to spend the rest of your night here, be precise in your speech. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, I came from Republic of Korea. 안녕하십니까? 저는 대한민국 종교계를 대표해서 이번 글로벌 난민 포럼에 참석하게 된 한국 종교인 평화회의 최종수입니다. 대한민국 종교계의 목소리를 전 세계에 전달할 수 있도록 해주신 유엔 난민기구, 세계교회협의회, 종교를 위한 종교회, 평화를 위한 종교에 감사를 표합니다.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jong-soo Choi from the Korea Conference of Religions, and I'm very honored to be here to participate in the Global Refugee Forum on behalf of the Korea religious community. I would also like to express my sincere appreciation to UNHCR, World Council of Churches, and the Religion for Peace for allowing us the voice of Korean religious community to be heard around the world.
대한민국 종교계는 범종교적 연대를 통해서 기후 위기 극복을 위한 실질적인 행동에 앞장서 왔습니다. 지난 2001년 종파를 초월해서 종교환경회의를 설립했고 2020년에는 기독교, 불교, 원불교, 유교, 천도교, 천주교 등 한국 종교계가 종교인 기후 행동을 선언한 바 있습니다.
the Korean religious community has taken the lead in practical actions to overcome the climate crisis through pan-religious solidarity. In 2001, the Religious Conference of Environment was established as a result of interfaith efforts. And in 2020, Korean religious communities, including Christianity, Buddhism, Won Buddhism, Confucianism, Cheondogyo, and Catholicism declared religious communities' action for climate change.
종교인 기후행동 선언의 주요 정신은 이러합니다. 기후위기는 모든 생명과 만물이 관계를 맺고 의존한다는 진실을 깨닫지 못하고 차별해온 우리의 어리석음에서 비롯되었다. 우리 종교인들은 가난한 삶과 무소유의 가르침을 저버리고 욕망의 사회를 저지하기는커녕 편승하고 부추기며 물질을 우상으로 섬기고 자신의 신앙마저 왜곡하고 이용하는 큰 죄를 저질러 왔음을 깊이 참회한다. 자연에서 인간이 주인이 아니며 모든 생명이 평등한 존재로서 고유의 권리가 존중되고 서로를 살리는 관계로 재편되어야 한다.
And I would like to share the main spirit of the Declaration of Korean Religious Communities' Action for Climate Change. The climate crisis stems from our foolishness of not realizing the mere truth that all life and matters are interrelated and interdependent. Our religious people deeply repent that we have committed great sins by abandoning the teachings of humble life and non-possession, riding on the society of desire, and distorting and exploiting our truth. In nature, humans are not masters, and all lives must be reorganized into a relationship that respect their own rights as equal beings and save each other.
이러한 인식은 대한민국 종교가 이번 글로벌 난민 포럼을 통해서 선언하는 더불어 살아가기 공당 서역의 정신과도 맞닿아 있습니다. 우리는 지금까지 계속해온 범종교적 기후위기 극복을 위한 활동을 계속해 나가는 한편 유엔 난민기구 및 국제사회의 노력에 동참하겠습니다.
This perception is also in line with the spirit of the joint pledge of living together, which will be declared by the Korea Conference of Religion and Peace and Korea Muslim Federation through this very special Global Refugee Forum. We'll continue our pan-religious activities to overcome the climate crisis while joining the efforts of the UNHCR and the international community.
Thank you. 대한민국 종교계는 유엔 난민기구의 전 세계 난민보호 활동을 지지하며 점점 심각해지는 강제 실향민 문제의 지속 가능한 해결을 위해 각국 정부와 기업, 학계, 시민사회 등 국제사회가 한자리에 모인 글로벌 난민 포럼의 취지에 깊이 공감하며 이 자리에 섰습니다. 대한민국 종교계는 한국 현대사의 급속한 산업화와 민주화 과정에서 직면한 다양한 문제에 앞장서 목소리를 내왔습니다. 무엇보다 항상 소외된 취약계층의 인권을 보호하고 사회적 대립과 갈등이 생길 때마다 화합과 통합을 이끌기 위해서 노력해 왔습니다. 난민을 비롯한 세계 강제 실향 인구가 1억 1천만 명을 넘어서는 지금 난민 문제는 무시할 수 없는 인류 모두의 문제가 되었습니다. 이에 대한민국 종교계는 더불어 살아가기를 위한 포용과 연대가 그 어느 때보다도 중요하다는 시점이라는 데 뜻을 같이 하고 유엔 난민기구를 비롯한 국제사회의 연대와 노력을 함께 할 것을 서약합니다.
And I would also like to announce the joint pledge of the religious communities in Republic of Korea. The religious community in the Republic of Korea supports UNHCR's endeavor to protect those forcibly displaced. We stand here deeply empathizing with the spirit of the Global Refugee Forum, where governments, businesses, academia, and civil society from around the world gather in unity to find sustainable solution for the pressing and escalating issue of forced displacement. In the face of diverse challenges during the Republic of Korea's rapid economic development and democratization, we, the religious community, have actively voiced concerns. Our efforts consistently highlight protecting the rights of marginalized groups and fostering reconciliation and unity whenever societal conflict arises. As the global forced displacement population surpasses 110 million, the refugee issue has evolved into an undeniable concern for humanity. The religious community in Korea collectively shares the sentiment that this is a crucial moment that calls for inclusivity and solidarity in living together. With this shared commitment, we jointly pledge to collaborate and stand in solidarity with refugees, UNHCR, and international community.
하나, 사회적 공감의 이해 확산. 대한민국 종교계는 난민 문제에 대한 균형 잡힌 인식을 돕고 사회적 공감을 이끌어내기 위한 노력을 해 나가겠습니다. 유엔 난민기구의 지속적인 대화의 장을 마련하고 이를 통해 합의된 메시지를 각 종교의 다양한 채널로 전달해서 난민 인식 개선에 기여하겠습니다. 각 종교의 교리를 바탕으로 난민 문제 해결의 중요성을 널리 알리고 난민 문제에 대한 소통의 장을 열어가겠습니다. 난민에 대한 이해를 돕는 자료 개발에 각 종교가 함께 노력하겠습니다.
First, spreading social empathy and understanding. The religious community in the Republic of Korea commits to ongoing interfaith dialogue to promote a balanced narrative and understanding of refugee issue. We will collaborate to convey stories of refugees and issues related to forced displacement based on objective facts, incorporating them as part of the teachings and doctrines of each religious faith. We will collaborate to develop communication materials that aid in building a balanced understanding of refugees. We will facilitate a platform for continuous dialogue through regular meetings with the UNHCR. By widely disseminating collaborational proposals and messages through various communication channels of each organization, we seek to foster positive perceptions.
둘, 더불어 살아가기의 가치 실천. 대한민국 종교계는 난민을 우리 사회의 일원으로 포용하기 위해 각 사회 분야와 연대하겠습니다. 유엔이 정한 세계 난민의 날 등을 계기로 활용하여 더불어 살아가기를 위한 사회적 참여를 함께 도모하겠습니다. 지금까지 난민을 지원해온 각 종교의 다양한 경험을 공유하여 난민 지원 방안 마련에 힘쓰겠습니다.
Second, practicing the values of living together. The religious community in Korea will lead a vision of solidarity across various sectors of society to embrace refugees as members of our community. We will collaborate to organize events utilizing occasions such as the UN-designated World Refugee Day, aiming to catalyze social participation. We will share our experiences in supporting the successful local integration of refugees and will remain committed to actively contributing to continued support. The religious community will lend our voices to policy proposals for the protection of refugees and their integration into our society.
셋, 유엔 난민기구의 전 세계 난민 보호 활동에 동참하겠습니다. 세계 난민 보호를 위한 유엔 난민기구의 활동에 적극 동참하겠습니다.
3. Actively supporting UNHCR's global refugee protection efforts. The religious community in Korea jointly pledges active support for UNHCR's efforts to protect forcibly displaced people around the world.
공동 서약 한국 종교인 평화회의 대표회장 최종수 유교 성균관장.
Joint pledge made by Korea Conference Religions for Peace, Chairman Choi Jong-soo, the Director of Seongyungan Confucianism.
공동회장 김종생 한국 기독교 교회 협의회 총무.
Co-chairman of KCRP, Kim Jong-seng, Secretary General of National Council of Churches in Korea.
공동회장 진우 대한불교 조계종 총무원장.
Co-chairman of KCRP, Venerable Jinu, President of the Joge Order of Korean Buddhism.
공동회장 나상호 원불교 교정원장.
Co-chairman of KCRP, Na Sang-ho, President of One Buddhism.
공동회장 박상종 천도교 교령.
Co-chairman of KCRP, Park Sang-jong, Supreme Leader of Cheondogyo.
공동회장 이용훈 한국천주교 주교회의 의장.
Co-chairman of KCRP, Lee Yong-hun, President of Catholic Bishops Conference of Korea.
공동회장 김영하 한국민족종교협의회 회장.
Co-chairman of KCRP, Kim Young-ha, Chairman of Korea National Interreligious Conference.
한국이슬람교 중앙회 이맘 이주하 회장.
Korean Muslim Federation, Imam Lee Ju-ha.
Thank you so much.
감사합니다. Reverend Jong-soo Cho, thank you very much. And I would like to also thank our representation in Korea. Our representative is here, our team is here, because this is the first of its kind pledge that is coming in an interreligious context. We are very, very grateful at the headquarters because 4 years ago, when we wanted to bring together hand in hand with Religions for Peace, a role modeling council, multi-religious council of leaders, of which the esteemed members are also amongst yourselves and on this stage. They will be speaking later on as well as before. So we've been very moved by our Korea UNHCR office and Korea Conference of Religions for Peace for coming together in an interreligious solidarity and in solidarity with refugees and to change perceptions. And you've seen the content of it. We really would like this first of a kind pledge and interreligious solidarity to be actually replicated in other country offices that we have. We are represented as UNHCR in 135 countries, in 430 plus offices, because we also serve on duty lines, at the front lines, at no man lands. So we very much appreciate that. So I would like to just recognize that on behalf of worldwide UNHCR, this is a first of its kind. We wish to see more. And personally, I just would like to thank Korea as well for contributing to the world popular culture, the sign of love. The finger love, while we're speaking about love and compassion. And also as a humanitarian worker in hard places, Korean dramas made me survive. So thank you very much. That being said, I would like to move to Rabbi Diana Gerson, who is with us, Associate Executive Vice President, New York Board of Rabbis. Thank you.
Your Eminences, honored guests, esteemed brothers and sisters in faith, Chag Urim Sameach. Today is, well, we just hit sunset, didn't we? Yes. I'm very confused at what time zone I'm in. So I believe it was just sunset here in Geneva, and that means we have just lit the 6th candle for the holiday, the Festival of Lights, Hanukkah. And I think about the 6th day. What happened in Genesis on the 6th day of creation? Does anybody remember? God created the animals of the earth and humankind. Same day. Humankind was brought forth by the Creator from the earth and named the first human Adam. Adam means earth, means man. It means soil. For we are forever connected to the land, our home, earth. The story of creation, as described in the Torah, further teaches us that the act of creation was not infinite. And it continues every day. Every day. You and me, we are partners in creation with God. Therefore, we must understand and bear the sacred responsibility to be co-creators alongside God, for we are created B'Tselem Elohim, in the divine image, and thus encourages us to imitate God's care and benevolence. It is for this reason that while we fill the earth and master it as human beings, we must also till it and tend it, for we are stewards of our world at the heart of Torah's vision of creation. In Leviticus, we read that when a stranger resides with you in your land, you shall not wrong him. The stranger who resides with you shall be to you as one of your citizens, and you shall love him as yourself, for you are strangers in the land of Egypt. In fact, in the Tanakh, the total of the Hebrew Bible, 36 times we are told to welcome the stranger, to take care of the stranger, the widow, the poor, the orphan. 36 times. 36 is not lost on me as a rabbi. I give every donation in multiples of 18 or 36. 36 is double life. We mean life. And it's much easier to love your neighbor. After all, you probably have a little bit in common with them. The stranger is a much harder task. The bar by God is set much higher for us, for we have to actually reach deep inside ourselves and find the common ground. We may not speak the same language. We may not pray in the same way. We may not eat the same food, but we come from the same roots, like the olive tree. The roots must be strong because we all belong to its branches. Judaism, in fact, underscores the moral imperative of protecting the most vulnerable. When one loves righteousness and justice, the earth is full of the loving kindness of the eternal. And as we heard earlier today, we have 114 million displaced people worldwide. And we know that no country is immune. I come from New York. We are overwhelmed with the migrant realities of our time, and we seek to find answers as an interfaith community. And we are even more aware that 41% of those people are children. We have a sacred obligation to safeguard and to protect them on their perilous journeys, filled with uncertainty and unknowns. But how shall we do this? I go back to Rabbi Hillel. Rabbi Hillel and Rabbi Shammai often had great debates. But in Pirkei Avos, the ethics of the fathers, Rabbi Hillel says, Hu haya omer im ein ani mili. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? And when I am only for myself, what am I? If not now, when? What on earth does this mean? I have a sacred obligation to take care of the community right in front of me. I have an obligation to take care of my neighbors, my family, and I have an obligation to my family that I have never met. The obligation is the same. When does that moral imperative begin? Now. If not now, when? Today. We are gathered here because we answer that call to action. It's not about just words. It's got to be the words of our mouths and the deeds of our hands. So it's Hanukkah. I'm going to ask you all to be like the menorah. The menorah has 8 candles. 8. One is different. We call it the shamash. I mentioned this to Cardinal Dolan last week. He thought it was very funny. He didn't know what the word was. But I explained to him what to do with the candles. And to understand, when we put the candles in the candelabra, we put them in from right to left. But we light them from left to right. I only wonder what would happen if we had Christmas trees. We'd have 4 books of Talmud telling us what to do. But we light them from left to right. So we remember that we light the newest one first. But the one candle that's different is that shamash. The shamash is the helper candle. And when we light the other candles, it does not diminish the light, the fire of the shamash. In fact, we only increase the light. So be the shamash. Be the shamash in your community. Stand tall like the shamash. Stand above, to the side, to the right, to the left, it doesn't matter. But light the candles beside you. Help those who need us most. Makor HaChaim, source of all life, as we gather here today, we focus on the members of the human family who are powerless in the face of disaster, who have been displaced and lost their homes and communities. May we embrace their dignity, their goodness, and love, all created in your divine image, for the families and the children who represent all that is good in our world. And we are charged by our sacred text to aid them as they journey through the narrow places. May their hopes and their dreams be fulfilled as we all strive to fulfill the promise of peace. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you for your words of wisdom, courage, integrity. We need many people like you, many people in the entire world. You just speak like my very good friend, Rabbi Saberstein, who has the same approach. And we need this kind of leaders among ourselves. Thank you very much. Oh, he is my friend for the last 25 years. He's one of the best person I have met. And still we are friends. And he was the ambassador of religious freedom in the United States. Now, if you want to have an appointment with the religious freedom ambassador, it will take 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But with David, with one call, said, when are you coming? Excellent person. Thank you very much. God bless you. Happy Hanukkah. Now it's my honor to invite Imam Razavi, Chief Imam, Scottish Ahlul Bayt Society, member of Religious for Peace, UNHCR, Multi-Religious Council of Leaders. The platform is yours. Please be precise and short. Please, otherwise, you are going to suffer, not me. I'm ready. I have suffered already 40 hours. I'm traveling for 40 hours.
You know, it's fascinating when you see a man in a turban, you tell him to hurry up. No, I think much has been said, and it'd be torturous on you for me to go on longer than maybe 2 minutes. I've just been inspired by the rabbi and all the other interventions so far. But I guess as we stand here today, it's important to bear in mind that we are facing 2 existential crises, 2 challenges, I guess, for us as a collective humanity. And looking around, we're different races, colors, languages, but actually we're all one humanity. Or as was said, we're all the image of God. And because we are the image of God, then God shines through us. And so therefore it's time for us as a humanity to become, or to continue our godliness. And as was mentioned by 2 of our previous speakers, that there is light, and that light does shine. And in each one of your hearts there's light. So as long as there is light, in equal amounts of it, I think we can get the job done if we come together. So in 2 minutes, I'm going to stick to my script and to say that there are 2 things, or we stand at an intersection of refugees and the climate crisis. Refugees forced to flee their homes due to conflict, persecution, or human rights violations now face another issue, and that is the escalating impacts of climate crisis. climate change is not only environmental challenges, but at this moment in time is driving individuals away from their homes, and so therefore displacement as well becomes another added issue on top of this. Rising sea levels, extreme weather events and environments or environmental degradation, as you notice, is leading to this nexus, I would say, it's quite unique, of two things. One, climate change, and the other one, displacement of people. So as we witness the plight of climate refugees, it is imperative that we acknowledge our shared responsibility. The consequence of climate change is indiscriminate, affecting, in fact, vulnerable people and vulnerable communities disproportionately. So therefore, we must recognize that in address this crisis requires a collaborative approach. If all of us come together collaboratively in our different colors and languages and creeds, we can have a solution. Moreover, as advocates for change, it is our duty to rise above and create awareness in the face of this human crisis. Now, bearing in mind, we're not just looking at statistics. These refugees are not just mere numbers. They are mothers, fathers, children whose lives have been turned upside down. In particular, with this climate crisis that we're here to discuss. So therefore, as my 2 minutes finishes, in conclusion, I will say this. The intersection of refugees and the climate crisis demands a comprehensive and compassionate response. Let us commit ourselves to creating a world where no one is forced to flee their home due to the impacts of climate change. Together, we can build a future that is sustainable, just, and inclusive for all. Thank you very much.
Let us not be shy with our applauses and warm up this room. So with your wonderful acknowledgements. So I would like to also thank Dr. Imam Said Razavi for having served at the High Commissioner's Multi-Religious Council of Leaders, like the other esteemed members as well, in a very active way. Thank you. So I would like to invite Ms. Bani Dugal, Principal UN Representative for the Baha'i International Community, as well as a board member for Religions for Peace, as well as Interfaith Alliance for Safer Communities.
Thank you very much, Safak, Your Eminences, ladies and gentlemen. The construction of a more sustainable world will unquestionably require the tools of policy and procedure. But experience has shown that these alone, devoid of moral and ethical commitment, cannot meet the needs of an increasingly interdependent global civilization. A true harmonious, sustainable, and integrated society requires the application of conscience. What is clear is that the environmental crisis today is, in fact, a spiritual crisis. Humanity's existence is governed only by physical forces, not only by physical forces, but also social and moral laws of cause and effect. Greed is inherently corrosive to the common good, no matter how artfully justified or concealed. Acts of selfless compassion invariably hold the power to motivate and inspire, no matter how seemingly simple and isolated. The escalating climate crisis is, of course, closely related to issues of migration and the plight of refugees. Unprecedented numbers of people around the world are being displaced from their homes, fleeing war, violence, environmental degradation, and other forms of hardship, to search for better lives elsewhere. Such large-scale migration illustrates the reality that the peace and stability and prosperity of the different regions of the world are interconnected, and that solutions cannot be intelligently considered in isolation from this global reality. As the Universal House of Justice, the world governing body of the Baha'i Faith, wrote in this regard, the welfare of any segment of humanity is inextricably bound up with the welfare of the whole. Humanity's collective life suffers when any one group thinks of its own well-being in isolation from that of its neighbors or pursues economic gain without regard for how the natural environment, which provides sustenance for all, is affected. This is a moral and spiritual reality as much as it is a physical and environmental one. Critical then are the efforts of religious leaders and communities to put into practice foundational spiritual convictions to strengthen the collective awareness of humanity's underlying oneness and our overarching human identity. Thank you.
Thank you. It's getting better and better and better. Thank you very much. You know, if you want to know somebody, you have to travel with him. And then you'll be able to understand him. What kind of person he is. I had the pleasure of traveling with Right Reverend Mark Eddington. We spent a week together. We laughed, we were sad, we thought, we spoke, we shared our sorrows. And what a man he is. Thank you for being what you are. And the floor is yours, please.
Archbishop Bicken, my dear friend, thank you. Safak, thank you very much for your leadership here. I come with greetings for all of you from the Most Reverend Michael Curry, the primate of the Episcopal Church in the United States. I come with greetings and a blessing. The blessing is I do not have a prepared talk. So I will speak very briefly. I am about the most junior of those who will speak to you today, and I was very much hoping that we would run out of time before we got to my place in the order of speakers. And as one of those most junior people, rather than presume to offer you answers, I thought instead I might ask you two questions that you might think about. In my own tradition, we speak of the knowledge of God as God incarnate. That is a problematic proposition for many of our traditions, but in my own, it is the way that we come to understand and know what we understand to be divine. I wonder whether it is possible that the refugee crisis is an incarnation of the climate crisis, one that whatever we understand to be divine has presented us with as a way of finally calling us to compassion about God's good earth, in a way that we cannot be compassionate about the abstract notion of the climate. Second, inspired by the good man and wise man sitting to my right, Sahib Singh, who called us to remember that we are all refugees, I wonder whether it is just possible that the 114 million displaced people we have heard again and again about today are the true humans among us, and whether we need to learn from them about our true nature, whether we in some way have been lured into complacency by the easiness of our lives, and whether instead it is time now for us to learn about our true nature by learning from the refugees and vulnerable among us. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for your attention to these few words. I look forward to yours as the days unfold. Thank you.
Always so inspirational. Thank you very much, Right Reverend Eddington. And I would like to invite our youth voice on our council, on the High Commissioner Council, Multi-Religious Council of Leaders, Emine Fralik, please, from Bosnia. She's the she represents here for the institution, Youth for Peace. Thank you.
So, good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. It's a privilege, but it's also a responsibility to talk here as a young person, particularly as a young Muslim woman. So, to what's been said until now, I want to add two dimensions. That's youth and intergenerational approach. My colleagues in the International Youth Committee of Religions for Peace, but also a massive number of other young people all around the world, are doing tremendous work to make our societies peaceful, just, and inclusive. As young people, we are present. We are not the distant future, because we are here, we are now, and we are doing a lot of work. We are creating thousands of smaller but also larger initiatives that are changing the situation on the ground, step by step, but we are changing it. Some of us are addressing hate speech. Some of us are fostering social cohesion to bringing people, young people from diverse communities together. Some of us are providing psychosocial and mental health support in our own communities. Sometimes our voices are not heard, our voices are not amplified, but our work speaks volumes. That's why today I bear responsibility to bring these voices. Through the centuries, religious communities have been called upon to enact their beliefs and practices into justice for all. Today, this concept of action, of solidarity, and of compassion is still very relevant, even more so in these politically chaotic times and with the rising of number of people who have to leave their homes. But our work must be intergenerational. Because we, as young people, we are bringing fresh, we are bringing different yet unexplored ideas with a lot of potential. But also from the seniors, a lot of you here, we can learn a lot what to do, but also what not to do. I am deeply grateful for the previous generations that have paved the way towards many things. But young generations cannot wait until we climbed up to the leadership positions to invoke some changes, simply because we don't have the luxury of time. This is why we must listen and hear each other across generations. And that's why next year, the International Youth Committee of Religions for Peace will dedicate a considerable portion of time to its work to bringing together religious leaders, women of faith, and youth of faith for a joint initiative to work on implementation of the welcoming the stranger affirmations for faith leaders, but I will also add faith communities. We will mobilize our regional and our national networks of Religions for Peace, and we will develop advocacy and social media campaign, a series of events and activities including scriptural reflections on welcoming the stranger, intergenerational conversations on bringing host and guest communities together, and scriptural conversation and scriptural reasoning sessions for young people. And let me remind you that all of us in the IYC are volunteering our own time for this work because we are motivated by our faiths and because we really think that God made us stewards on this planet to cherish it, not to destroy it. Thank you very much.
Our future is very bright. You know why? Because we have young people like Khalifa. As long as we have young people like her, our future is really bright. Thank you. Now, the staff, could you please show us the video? We would like to watch the video. Then we will pass.
So Venerable Pra is also joining us from Thailand. He is actually UNHCR's patron for compassion and peace and a member of our Multi-Religious Council of Leaders as well. He couldn't join us today, but he sent a video while we are also re-preparing the stage for a dialogue. Thank you.
สันติภาพทุกท่านทุกคนขอความสุขสวัสดีจงมีแก่ผู้เข้าร่วมประชุมเพื่อสันติภาพทุกท่านทุกคนทุกวันนี้โลกของเราตกอยู่ท่ามกลางความเสี่ยงเพราะว่ามีความรุนแรงเกิดขึ้นทุกภูมิภาคของโลกเป็นเรื่องเหลือเชื่อที่เรามาถึงศตวรรษที่21แล้วแต่ว่ายังคงมีสงครามปะทุอยู่ทั่วไปในยุคสมัยของเราและนี่คือสิ่งที่แสดงให้เห็นว่าศาสนายังเป็นสิ่งจำเป็นอย่างยิ่งขอให้เราทั้งหลายในฐานะผู้นำศาสนาร่วมกันนำเอาแก่นแท้ของศาสนาแห่งตนออกมาช่วยเยียวยาโลกของเราให้มีแต่ความร่มเย็นและเป็นสุขขอให้เราทั้งหลายร่วมกันนำพาโลกของเราไปสู่ฟากฝั่งแห่งสันติภาพถอดถอนความรุนแรงออกจากโลกออกจากยุคสมัยของเราให้ได้วิธีการที่เราจะนำพาโลกของเราให้มีความร่มเย็นและเป็นสุขหรือมีสันติภาพมี2ประการด้วยกัน1ผู้นำศาสนาทุกคนต้องสร้างสันติภาวะขึ้นมาในใจของตัวเองให้ได้เสียก่อนสันติภาพโลกจะเป็นไปไม่ได้ถ้าเราไม่มีสันติอยู่ในเรือนใจของตนสันติภาพในเรือนใจคือรากฐานของสันติภาพโลกสิ่งนี้ควรเป็นคติธรรมประจำใจของผู้นำศาสนาทุกคนและประการที่2ขอให้เราทั้งหลายร่วมกันนำเสนอสันติทัศนะคือทัศนคติเพื่อสันติภาพให้เผยแผ่ออกไปในโลกของเราให้กว้างใหญ่ไพศาลให้ครอบคลุมทุกคนทุกแห่งทัศนคติเพื่อสันติภาพก็คือแนวคิดที่ว่าโลกทั้งผองเป็นพี่น้องกันโลกทั้งผองเป็นพี่น้องกันอันนี้เป็นสัจธรรมพื้นฐานสำหรับเรามนุษยชาติทุกคนขอให้เราทุกคนพากันร่วมมือกันสื่อสารสันติทัศนะนี้ออกไปให้ต่อเนื่องให้กว้างขวางและให้ลงลึกไปในทุกภูมิภาคของโลกเมื่อเรามีความคิดมีความเชื่อที่เป็นพื้นฐานว่าโลกทั้งผองเป็นพี่น้องกันทัศนะเช่นนี้แหละคือรากฐานอันแข็งแกร่งของสันติภาพโลกมาช่วยกันทำให้โลกของเรามีสันติภาพทั้งด้วยสันติในเรือนใจและด้วยสันติทัศนะที่ว่าโลกทั้งผองเป็นพี่น้องกันหรือ We are one We are all อาตมาภาพขอให้ผู้เข้าร่วมประชุมทุกคนมีความสุขมีความสำราญบานใจและประสบความสำเร็จในการจัดประชุมสมตามที่ตั้งเจตจำนงเอาไว้จงทุกประการเถิด
Thank you very much to our UNHCR's patron for peace and compassion. That was our first step, actually, to get into religious representation, to be part of our voices. And that journey brought us today here with more friends. Speaking of friends, I would like to invite Reverend James Wuye and Imam Ashafa to the stage for having referred them as friends. We have met in the very interesting circumstances, and they have actually stood in solidarity with me for me to be able to walk in a conference in the middle of Morocco, in the city of Fez. We just happened to, I discovered their story like that, and I didn't know in the African continent their story of and friendship. For their efforts for peace building was already well known beyond the continent as well. So I would like to welcome them here to actually tell us their stories. Can we invite you, please, to take a seating with us, and then maybe we can, or would you like to speak like that? Yes? Okay. All right. Please.
Peace be with you. Distinguished brothers and sisters, we think we respect all the protocols that need to be respected, and a simple language to share our own stories of what needs to be done. Here we have heard the lamentation, we have seen the situation, we have heard the situation, but what practically can people of faith do in order to address the concerns we have, not only with refugees, but with
internally displaced persons? It's just the status, the suffering is the same. And today we have come to answer a clarion call. From my tradition, the Bible is saying in Matthew 25, verse 41 to 46, that says, we have these about 114 million people that are either displaced, and among that, 44 million coming from Africa. What a huge number. That calls actually say, Jesus will ask all of us, those who believe in the tradition I believe, that when I was hungry, you didn't feed me. When I was naked, you didn't clothe me. When I was in prison, you didn't visit me. And it goes on and said, those who do that, the Lord will say, you did it unto me. And what a call from my tradition, one of the greatest refugees on earth. Jesus was a refugee.
Thank you very much. And the same goes for us in Islam. Quran chapter 9, Surah At-Tawbah, chapter 9, verse 6 of the Holy Quran, had made it very clear to us as Muslims to say the need to protect the refugees. Those who come for asylum seeking, those who come seeking for protection from challenges and danger, you must stand by them, you must protect them, you must escort them to a point where they no more live in fear of unknown. These have been a moment in our traditions. But the most important question is, as faith leaders, how many of us every Friday during our khutbah do we rekindle these core values of our traditions within our faith with our communities? How many of us as Jews or Christian or as people of other faith, my Sikh brother is here, how many of us have we rekindled this weekly within our tradition with people of our faith?
I come from an experience where, due to challenges that are motivated by programming through religious constituency that I used to belong to, I found justification in fighting. And Imam and I used to be bitter enemies, lost my hand in fighting to protect the church in Nigeria, activities towards that, lost his spiritual mentor. People were moved, were displaced as a result of some of those wars. Imam at some point also suffered displacement for 3 days. He was living out of his house. He experienced that kind of thing that displaced people are experiencing. So with this behind our minds, what do we do? Like he said, enough of lamentation from religious leaders. It is time for religious leaders to take pragmatic actions, even though grassroots, but it has the capacity to escalate into the global platform.
And during one of our experiences, people are telling us they don't look like us, they are not from our community. Ashafa, why are you worried about these people? Remember, their ancestors have done this to our ancestors. And what relation have this political issue to do with us as people of faith? And I told them, the first Muslim community in the world were refugees. They were given protection in Abyssinia to this Ethiopia. And Muhammad himself and the Muslim community of his time were flown out because of persecution. They ran as immigrants into the city of Medina. And from there they are received and welcomed, and they are given the best of protection. Today, can we re-echo Mecca, Medina examples in our community where we have internally displaced persons and we refuse them access to turn back to their community? We work in a community where we call, let's get back to those communities. Those who confront us the most, unfortunately, some of them are religious leaders. We are saying the traditional leaders and religious saying, we don't want them in our community, they don't belong. Don't bring them back here. These are areas, but after dialogue, we call to the heart. And most of our religious leaders in that community specifically, they regret doing that. They know the symbols of saying, yes, we are sorry for what we did. We are not talking out of faith, We're talking out of our culture and emotions. And that is what gave us a breakthrough in that community. We want to see this re-echo by our religious leaders.
Our commitment, brothers and sisters, distinguished colleagues, is we have to raise soldiers of trauma healing. It is said in our tradition in Africa, the first respondent to every crisis is the clergy. When there are deaths and we are celebration, and whatever people are traumatized, as we speak to you, in Nigeria and other places in Africa, it's ongoing. In Sudan, wars are all going. We are turning, and I think if we do the counting, we'll have more than 114 million people. It is increasing by the day. So what do we do pragmatically? How do we heal the rift between the people? How can we give the people the capacity to take things into their hands and begin to walk the talk? We have had a lot of discussion here, but what can we do in our little clusters in Africa, in Asia, all over the world? Especially today, we are trying to bring religious leaders who do not talk to each other to begin to plant peace trees in areas where indigenous trees are going into extinction because people are cutting them down for fuel. And the war that is coming with that is enormous.
And that's why, for us, one of the most important things for me is that can we do a lot of capacity building for religious leaders? Capacity building on how to honor the strangers. That stranger who symbolically, Abraham, the father of faith, he became Abraham, he was honored because he honored the stranger. And that's given the honor he received. And today, both the trilogue of Abraham, Jewish, Christian, Muslims, we say we are children of Abraham by faith. That is a core values, a core traditions we need to move into and saying, can we do a lot of capacity building? Because those refugees, they stay in the local community, on the fringes. They don't come to the political center where they meet the politician or the bigwig. They move with the ordinary people who are only relying point of meeting is every Friday or Sundays or Saturday midweeks. And the meeting point is with the imam or with the pastor. So I'm feeling strongly that one of the things we are doing right now, and we need to do more, is can we get those local imams, local priests, who live on the fringes, at the borders, across the borderline, to give them to re-echo the culture of honoring the strangers. When you honor him, you are honoring God in that particular stranger. That is what we do. We commit ourselves to as our own contributions to this particular journey.
We must invoke divine intimidation strategy, invoking divinity to get compliance. In Africa, it's easy to market things using religion. So whatever you want to market, place it on the faith. They will buy it without thinking. It is time for us to use that power in our spirituality to intimidate, my use of words carefully, divinely, to get what we call reaction, positive reaction, because the divine is in this discussion and the divine is part of this business.
And finally, on my own side, I believe that, yes, it is possible to move, to change the paradigm. And for this paradigm to shift, we need to talk with, because every politician, he is a member of a church, a mosque, a synagogue, a sanctuary, where he go for services. It is time for religious leaders to talk to power, to look into the face of our political leaders and tell them where they are not getting it right, to look at our multinational corporate organizations and companies and say, this is time for you to change, to invest, not investing in arms, but to invest in moral rearmament. Instead of armed rearmament, we should invest in moral rearmament in our society. And to invest in moral rearmament is to create a soft spot where livelihood support can go to those yesterday who are seen as refugees today. Tomorrow you may be the next refugee. Nothing is impossible.
Act now. It may be too late. Please do something, no matter how small. We must change the tide. We must move back. We must even cultivate farms just for a refugee. And in Nigeria, we have very rich mega churches. If they can only be conscious of this divine call, because peace is divine, we have to protect people from going into refugee status. Rather, let's do something to keep them at home. And let me give this as a caution to the global north. If you don't do something, and the global south is not to invest in the global south, we will overwhelm you. If Nigeria gets into war, for instance, we are over 250 million people. When we come to Europe, there will be no Europe again. And this note I want to sound, this my special epistle. Blessed are those who keep their talk short, for they shall be invited again. Thank you for your listening.
So we'll be very happy to listen to any question.
You know, before the meeting, I had a conversation with them. I said, you have 8 minutes. They said, oh no, let's have 10 minutes. I said, okay. But now they went to 12 minutes. So what can we do? Anyhow, thank you very much. Thank you for your input. And I hope people are listening and they are going to implement whatever you have said. Now, we are going to speak about pledges and commitments. And there are 2 persons. One of them is Mrs. Dana Humaid, President, Interfaith Alliance for Safer Communities, followed by Mrs. Deepika Singh, Assistant Secretary General, Regions for Peace. So the first one, Mrs. Dana Humaid.
Thank you very much. So there's nothing more inspiring to participate in events like these here in Geneva, starting with the beautiful ceremony and the prayer that took place at the beginning and followed by those inspirational and very motivating speeches and words of wisdom. I'm here to talk about action. So I've heard in a lot of speeches there is a call for collective voices, and there is an emphasis on the importance of involving faith leaders in dialogues and conversations that have to do with refugee and displacement and climate change. And just before me, the 2 very engaging speakers called for engagement with political leaders and called for engagement with policymakers. So I'm here to share with you what happens when you engage with policymakers. During 2023, my organization is an organization that I love to think is action-oriented. So we're action-oriented. We try to bring people together and build bridges together between different civil society organizations and different faith organizations, whether they are at the very executive level, such as the Pope himself or His All Holiness, or at a grassroots level. So during 2023, we partnered with the G20 Interfaith Forum. They have a process that has been going on with the G20 countries for the past 7 years. And this year, we partnered with them based on what we were going to bring to the process. So they've engaged with different faith leaders across the years. They've traveled between different countries where the G20 was hosted. They participated in bringing faith leaders together, engaged in different topics, and brought the recommendations of faith leaders forward to the G20 leadership or secretariat in order for them to be more engaged and for the G20 leaders around the world to understand what is the point of view of faith leaders. But this year we wanted to do something different as the Interfaith Alliance for Safer Communities. We introduced the regional workshops elements. So what we did this year is we traveled around the world. We had workshops in New Delhi, Pune, Istanbul, Nairobi, Brasilia, New York, and Manila. And we brought faith leaders like yourself and civil society organizations and faith-based organizations around different subjects, different priorities, and asked them what should we focus on. The theme of the G20 leadership in India was One Earth, One Family, One Future. But the faith leaders wanted to talk about coexistence, climate, children, and COVID. They wanted to talk about those subjects. And they brought a lot of wisdom that was driven from their experiences in the different regional workshops. They've spoken about how faith leaders should be part of the decision-making, of the policy development, how youth need to be engaged, how we need to give focus to vulnerable communities around the world, those who are displaced because of conflict, but they also spoke about those who were displaced because of the climate change and the environmental events that happened around the world. Focus on children was something that faith leaders felt very strongly about. And looking at what's happening right now around the world, I think it's only fair to say that even when we speak about children and try to motivate policymakers and try to motivate politicians, that is not enough. So we have committed to this process, and we have put a set of recommendations that came out of Africa, of Asia, of the Pacific, of Southern America, of the Global South. We have put together those initiatives, suggestions. We've put together those recommendations, and we were able to pass them through to the Secretariat of the G20 in India and pass them through to countries. We have been celebrating this move that we were able to make, but I think it's not enough, and this is why we're committed to continuing this process next year in Brasilia and the year after in South Africa. So I just wanted to share action with you. I wanted to let you know that there are bodies, there are NGOs, there are civil society, and there are faith-based organization that are cultivating the voices of faith leaders, that are putting them together in the form of call for action and initiatives and recommendations that we are putting it forward to politicians, we are putting it forward to policymakers, and that we will continue to do that. And if you are interested in this process and you want your voice to be heard, and you want to be part of the process and part of the policy development process of the G20, I'm going to be here today to the rest of the day, and I'm going to be participating in the Global Forum. Please stop by, let me know, give me your mobile number, give me your email, and you are going to be part of this movement. Thank you very much.
Esteemed religious leaders, ladies and gentlemen, we know and we've heard that forcibly displaced people, refugees, internally displaced people, and stateless people, like other vulnerable populations, are disproportionately affected by climate-induced crisis that also threatens and at times violates their rights. We also know, and we've heard and recognized that inspired by religious and spiritual motivation and moral and ethical conviction, faith communities and religious leaders, with their influence, their credibility, access, reach, vast network and resources, can advocate for policies, raise awareness, and take action to bring about a positive transformation change. Taking these into consideration, Religions for Peace, the largest, most representative multi-religious coalition, has been advancing common action among the world's religious communities for peace on the global, regional, national, and local levels through our interreligious councils, Women of Faith Network, and interfaith youth networks in over 92 countries. Since its founding in 1970s, we have worked to give the voice to the voiceless, protect the most vulnerable, and promote human flourishing and shared well-being in harmony with the earth. Continuing our work with refugees from 1970, when we supported Vietnamese refugees, to now in 2023, when we implemented over 17 interfaith initiatives to assist IDPs and refugees from 8 conflict countries. We now pledge to mobilize and engage our religious leaders, men, women, and youth from diverse faiths, traditions, region, age, and gender, and working in partnership with other sectors of society, including UNHCR. This is what we commit to. Convene in partnership with UNHCR, the Multi-Religious Council of Leaders, whom you've heard of today, at least twice a year to address the root causes of conflict, displacement, and statelessness by promoting reconciliation, conflict prevention, and peace building. 2, hold a virtual or physical, where resources allow, multi-religious events to commemorate the International Refugee Day on 20th June each year to honor those who have been forced to flee their home and to advocate on their behalf. Next, issue an annual call to action for refugees by all our interreligious councils around the world each year, with each interreligious council encouraged to hold at least one physical solidarity visit with refugees per year to increase the visibility and urgency needed to deal with the issues of refugees. Next, raise awareness on the plights of the refugees and mobilize religious communities to welcome the stranger, transcending fear, doubts, and prejudices through mobilizing religious leaders, including women of faith and youth, to inspire people to open their hearts and their homes to refugees and IDPs. Next, and Amina mentioned this as well, conduct a social media campaign against xenophobia, discrimination, hatred directed at refugees, and highlight acts of care, compassion, and solidarity towards them. Ensure the participation of refugees at relevant Religions of Peace meetings, events, workshops across the globe. And last but not the least, provide opportunities and platforms for dialogue between refugees, IDPs, and host communities in select countries around the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much to our partners, Religions for Peace and Interfaith Alliance for Safer Communities. We can only do this work thanks to their, global outreach and bringing us together in convenings like this as our gracious host, World Council of Churches. I know Archbishop is right now thinking like how we're gonna end this session, but each time I'm learning from these interreligious gatherings and dialogues, since I've been put on the portfolio by the High Commissioner himself 4 years ago without any knowledge into this space. And I've learned about the spiritual lens by our indigenous leader in Canada, Grandfather Rankin. I learned about water festivals by Buddhist traditions. I learned about every celebratory day, every commemorative day, and I keep learning. I'm a student, but this is the first time I hear a ring bell that is being used by an eminence, Archbishop Aykazian, that is. His ring bell or alarm bell is on his phone, iPhone or smartphone, is actually by bells. They're bells. I don't know if you heard them, but I did. So that's another joy to my day of discovery. Thank you very much. So just to energize ourselves, I would like to hear some more pledges from the floor. I would like to invite Reverend Amick, if he's with us here, who flew in from the US, from the Methodist Church Committee. I would like to also equally invite Reverend Gran Ruffle, who is with us, to the stage as he's the UN representative for the Anglican Communion, if they can also briefly speak to their pledges for the Global Refugee Forum. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. You've heard it said sometimes, but I would say that there is no refugee crisis. There is, as we heard, a crisis of xenophobia. There is a climate crisis, but there is no refugee crisis. There is, however, a crisis of welcome. When I was younger, I learned a song that I'm not going to sing it, but you'll be blessed. A song that said something about, riffing on the 23rd Psalm, that a child is no longer a stranger or a guest, but like a child at home. A child at home knows where the refrigerator is. A child at home feels loved. A child at home is welcomed. And so I've seen the slogan that a hope far from home. That hope far from home is just resilience unless it's met and married with welcome. And so we as the church, all of us as religious leaders, need to encourage our bodies to be more welcoming, not just to come in and be like us and do what we do, but to be welcome in the community in a way that is dignifying. And so I know there are many, many, many churches and synagogues and places of worship that are doing this. What happens when people are welcomed is that we not only live up to our faith promises and our faith demands, as Rabbi pointed out, that our tradition, that's important, but it also transforms us so that we can be better people of faith, but also better human beings. So as we do that, one thing happens, and then we try to listen more to those people that we would not have listened to before. So to that end, we're not only encouraging churches to just welcome the migrants around them into their community, we are also pledging and have already committed $100,000 to UNHCR to allow refugees who might not otherwise have been able to participate in this event the next 3 days to be here in person. And my hope and prayer is that people will come up to these refugees and say, that is a great idea. I want to talk to you more about that. I want to do something about that. I want to take action based on what I heard from you. Or I've heard that before, but now hearing it from you, I have been transformed and changed. That is what I hope will happen. Thank you for your listening ears today. Thank you for this time. God bless you.
Well, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to speak. Anglican churches around the world are doing amazing things to help refugees, so I'm just going to run through quickly some of the projects that they're working on. At a sort of an administrative level, we're putting the care of refugees on the agenda. So when people meet together, they will have to talk about what they're doing to help refugees. In Egypt, which is still a place of refuge, there's people flocking to Egypt, and the province in Egypt is promising to continue to give holistic care to help refugees, giving them the basic things from food through to helping them integrate into society. In Tanzania, the church is pledging to actually work with the government and say, you need to be fair when refugees come here. You need to give them lots of help settling into society. In Canada, the church has this agreement with the government to help resettle refugees, and the church is pledging to continue that work. In Europe, where we are right now, there's loads of churches, and even at the grassroots level, there are churches which are working with people to try and just welcome refugees. We have churches in Brussels, Budapest, Helsinki, Bucharest, and they're all working to help refugees at a very local level, from just feeding them, giving them hygiene, giving them care at that basic level, through to helping them integrate into European society and to build a future for themselves. We're also part of a coalition, Faith Action for Children on the Move, and that's to basically ensure that holistic care and mental health support is given to refugee children. As we've heard today, 40% of refugees, many of them are children. So it's wonderful to be here. We thank you again for all you're doing, and let's just pray that we can actually make progress and bring an end to the forced migration of so many people.
Yeah, I think last but not least, we have the representative of Latter-day Saints Charities USA, and the floor is yours, please.
And since we are doing double act, if I may, please, you come here. Sivin, if I may invite also Sivin Kit here.
I'll go there.
To speak to the pledge. Please, let's have you on the podium. To speak to the pledge by a joint pledge, again, an exemplary one that is coming our way from our very long-standing close partners, HIAS, Islamic Relief Worldwide, and Lutheran World Federation.
We'll have. I'll go first. All right, thank you. I've been deeply touched by the comments that have been expressed today. On behalf of Latter-day Saint Charities, which is the humanitarian arm, excuse me, of the Church of Jesus Christ, we are deeply committed to living his two great commandments, to love God and to love our neighbors. Indeed, we are all brothers and sisters. And in harmony with these divine mandates, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints pledges an ongoing response to the refugee crisis, or our crisis of welcome, as we heard, through a three-pronged approach of immediate relief, sustained assistance, and resettlement support. Let me just give you a few examples of the kinds of things that we have done in recent years. For example, in April 2023, when armed conflict amplified in Sudan, causing the displacement of an estimated 4.7 million people, the Church of Jesus Christ collaborated with the UNHCR and others to provide shelter, medical and mental health care, food, water, and hygiene assistance to displaced persons in Chad, Ethiopia, Egypt, Sudan, and South Sudan. In Yemen and Syria, the Church has maintained its support to work with organizations which provide essential food, water, and nutrition support for malnourished children, along with medical care and psychosocial support. And throughout the United States and Europe, the Church has continued to support resettlement services in those seeking asylum and a new beginning. And lastly, in terms of my examples here, in response to the Ukrainian and Russian crises, hundreds of tons of food were provided to those fleeing conflict. Members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints organized thousands of beds, many within their own homes, for those displaced by the conflict. In line with our aim to provide humanitarian assistance around the world, including areas of conflict, the Church has been very involved with international relief agencies in Gaza and Israel. We are devoting significant financial resources for critical medical and mental health care, among other needs, to help alleviate suffering where it is found. As part of these efforts, we pledge to collaborate with governments and nonprofit organizations throughout the world to improve conditions in camps and communities that host refugees by contributing shelter, food, and clean water, and addressing the immediate needs of displaced people. We will also help members of the refugee community develop increased confidence and self-reliance, two things that we believe are deeply important, and to do this through education, livelihoods, mental health, and psychosocial support. We encourage our membership as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to respond appropriately and to create welcoming communities for the tens of millions of people who have fled their homes seeking relief from violence, war, or religious persecution. Our combined efforts to assist in the successful integration of displaced individuals and families into our communities will strengthen the fabric of our global society and lead to an abundant life for all. Fairly recently, one of our church leaders admonished us as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to come from our places of safety and to share our abundance, our hope for a brighter future, a faith in God and in our fellow man, and a love that sees beyond cultural and ideological differences to the glorious truth that we are all children of our Heavenly Father. Quote, "For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love." Thank you.
Thank you. I'm speaking representing HIAS, the Jewish humanitarian organization, Islamic Relief Worldwide, and Lutheran World Federation. The Global Compact on Refugees recognizes the importance of the role of faith-based organizations and faith actors in supporting a comprehensive refugee response. It further describes FBOs as potential contributors to conflict prevention, peaceful coexistence, peace building, social cohesion, and reconciliation between refugees and host communities, and outlines their unique role in being able to address some of the root causes of displacement. In response, a consortium of FBOs, HIAS, Islamic Relief Worldwide, the LWF, Lutheran World Federation, with the support of the Network for Religious and Traditional Peacemakers, Faith to Action Network, A World of Neighbors, and Finchurch Aid, etc. Yeah, Finchurch Aid, convened the Welcoming the Stranger, Shaping the Future, Living as Neighbors Conference in June 2022. The success in convening the conference signified the completion of the three organizations' pledge from the 2019 Global Refugee Forum. So in line with the conference findings and connection to the key recommendations from the 2021 high-level officials meeting, the GCR principles and objectives for GRF 2023, our three organizations are renewing our commitment to support a comprehensive refugee response by jointly submitting a new pledge. This new pledge is driven by the outcome of the conference to highlight the important efforts of faith actors and their contributions, and the contributions they have and continue to make to coordinated, effective, and impactful responses, while also strengthening partnerships between faith actors and international humanitarian development actors. You know, sometimes when I read this, it's all our policy guys writing long sentences. So I'll go with a short one right now to exactly what it looks like. Our pledge to the GRF 2023 is to improve the protection of refugees and the social cohesion between them and hosting communities through the following. 1, the creation and dissemination of training materials and tools to humanitarian aid actors aimed at incorporating faith-sensitive approaches in their work and leveraging contributions of local faith actors. And then on the other end, the creation and dissemination of training materials and tools to faith actors aimed at strengthening understanding of humanitarian principles, standards, and best practices. And, of course, third, carrying out pilot projects to test the effectiveness of these materials, tools, and improving refugee protection and social cohesion. So this is our joint pledge. It's a joy to share it with you, and do keep in touch with us so that we can collaborate further. Thank you.
You know, last September, I went to Germany to attend the Assembly of World Council of Churches. I arrived from Washington, D.C. It was late evening, around 10:30. There was no place where I could buy my ticket to take the train to go to the Karlsruhe. And I asked here and there, I gave them $1, can you please buy a ticket for me? No. And then somebody approached me with a heavy accent like mine, said, "Sir, do you have problem?" I said, "Yes." "What kind of problem?" I said, "I'm going to Karlsruhe and I need a ticket and I have no money. I don't have euro." He said, "Okay, sir, I will do something for me." He went and bought a ticket for me. I said, "But who are you?" He said, "Sir, don't ask me, but now you are going to take the train. I will take you there. But afterwards, maybe you will take a cab or something. You need some more money." And he gave me another 50 euro. I said, "But who are you? Tell me, because I'm a pastor, because I had a dark color, you approached me. Are you a Christian?" He said, "No." He said, "I'm a refugee from Syria." A refugee from Syria who has no money is offering a capitalist like me who comes from United States, and still I don't take him seriously because I have problem with myself. I have to get rid of the problem that I have within myself in order to be able to help others. And there are many examples like this, but we have no time. I'm not going to bother you anymore. Statement.
Thank you very much, Your Eminence. It's been a great honor and privilege to co-moderate, co-host this in your beautiful space at the Ecumenical Center with World Council of Churches' great generosity. Thank you very much. We exceeded our time, but maybe before that, maybe the hardest problem or question of the day that was actually embodied by Imam and Reverend's beautiful friendship. Is peace possible? Maybe it is. So I just want to look at here with a hope, because you represent for us the very root cause to do that. We can't do it alone. We very much are in gratitude of your pledges, of your commitments, of your engagement. But one thing I cannot promise you, tomorrow we will have you at Global Refugee Forum. We will have the honor. This was an exclusive space only for yourselves, but globally streamed. At the Global Refugee Forum, you will be with the other stakeholders, other members of delegates, and please, I mean, this is a mutual journey, we are very proud to have you in our ecosystem as well. Let us not be in silos and learn from each other, continue to learn. The one thing that may actually, I need your prayers with, that I've been actually designated by Palexpo, that's a venue that is foreign to me, to be the fire regulation person for the candle lighting ceremony. On 14 December, I know this is being web streamed, but I'll say it anyway. I don't think Swiss authorities realize that me yet. So they should ask my mom. But anyway, so I'll be there. I am your focal person, but we will also expect you to join us at the special prayer and candle lighting ceremony that's being co-curated by beautiful Miss Bani Dugal, who will be with all of us tomorrow, and as well as Imam Said Razavi and Interreligious Platform de Genève, Gary Vashkarus, he's with us as well. So 14th December, I want to make this announcement here. If there is any smoke coming to the plenary, please come and find me. I trust you. I trust your prayers. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow.
Well, we haven't finished yet. We are going to speak a little bit about the statement.
Correct.
And we have to, accept the statement. You all have the statement. In order not to take your time, I would propose we'll go paragraph by paragraph without reading. We start from the first paragraph. If you have any comment, please make your comment. And if you want certain changes, please send us written, and we will include it. So I think we'll start. You have the statement in front of you. Everybody has. And we should start with the first. Pardon me? Anything? It's on the...
Most of yourselves have been communicated this as much as we could reach out to you since a month or two ago. And we had endorsements from yourselves, but please, let's revise it again as His Eminence has reminded us.
If there is no comment for the first paragraph, shall we go to the second paragraph? Any comment? Question of clarification? No? Thank you. Shall we go to the third paragraph? I'm very quick. I think you'll like it, though. Never mind. Okay, the third? Yes, sir.
The first paragraph.
We haven't gone to fourth paragraph.
No,
The first paragraph.
The first paragraph. It said 2012. Is it 2012? Welcome strangers and permission for faith leaders 2012.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
We are invoking it into 2023.
Yes, we are recommitting to it. It's been actually launched and with the High Commissioner's dialogue here in 2012, which then was actually affirmed and widely circulated and adopted at the Religions for Peace Assembly in 2013. So the link is actually bringing us to that. Welcoming the Stranger, Affirmations for Faith Leaders, that was adopted by Religions for Peace Assembly worldwide.
Any other comment, first three paragraph? If not, shall we go to the fourth paragraph? Any comment? Question for clarification? If not, the next paragraph. Any comment? Any questions? Or do you want me to go slowly?
Your Eminence, this is the sound of consent.
Yes, of course. Of course. Yeah. Next paragraph. And if tonight you have time to read and you find something to add, please write and we will include your comment in the paragraph, but mention the paragraph. Yes, Mrs. Dugal.
I wonder if we need to include the phrase, they do not only bring poverty, but also contributions to their hosting communities. I don't know what we mean by they bring poverty, because not all refugees, and firstly, they're not poor. I mean, they come with skills, we are saying, ambitions, courage, and dreams. Material poverty, maybe, but not even all of them have material poverty. So I would just delete that and just say they bring. We recognize the contribution of refugees. They bring contributions to their hosting communities, skills, ambitions, courage. And
That's a good point. That's a good point. Shall we delete the poverty? Yes, okay. Okay, any other question? Comments? Question for clarification? No sides talking, please talk to us, to co-moderator. Next point, yes, yes.
Looking at dreams for peace, we probably can add through reconciliation and forgiveness.
I think that's great. Forgiveness is very, very important. Reconciliation, forgiveness. I think we could include that one. It's a friendly amendment. It's a very friendly amendment. Yes, Rabbi Gerson. Yeah. Yes, 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 yes. Thank you. Thank you. Any other comment? If not, shall we go
just
to
one
the
more
next-
word, I think, thing. Instead of having contribution in both sentences, I would suggest we recognize the contribution of refugees. They bring skills, ambitions, courage, and dreams for peace to their communities.
Thank you for friendly amendment. That's acceptable. Any other comment? If there is no comment, shall we go to the next paragraph? Bless you. Any comment? Any question? Question for clarification. If there is none, the last paragraph. Thank you very much. Yes, yes, but it's not finished. Ms. Soleimani is going to say something. Yes.
Yes, sorry, I have no microphone there. That's why I would like to make a comment. So people that are displaced, because we spoke a lot about climate change. So people that are displaced because of climate change and natural disasters, of course, legally, they're not still recognized as refugees. I don't know if we could add something about it on this statement, but maybe towards the end, something very general that we have to work or to think about people that would be displaced because of climate change and natural disasters.
Yeah, you mean the last, another short paragraph to be
Yes,
added at the
or
very
one,
end.
two sentences without specifying that, of course.
I would like to ask WCC to prepare a very short one, and
We
in
have-
consultation
we
with...
have it in the text, those displaced by climate change.
Oh, sorry, I haven't. I'm so sorry, I haven't paid attention about it.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
thank you very much for reminding us, though.
It's
Today's thematic area was very much invested on that, with His All Holiness's also special address on it.
I'm sorry, I haven't paid attention to the word, so thank you very much.
And you are very right. It is legally yet not defined, but it is very much embedded as a challenge that we're facing in the upcoming decades. So thank you for reminding us, for incorporating and refreshing our thoughts on it.
Claire. You are going back to first paragraph again?
It's there, it's just there. That's
Okay.
You talk of the statistics of refugees as at today.
Yeah.
You are saying 35.3 million.
Yeah.
Is that what it is today, officially, or 114, 117, 110?
Yes. The displaced is up to 117 million today, as of today we're speaking, the displaced, but that includes internally displaced persons, that includes stateless persons, that number, that is equally under our mandate, but the refugees number is correct, 35.3 million refugees.
Yeah, thank you.
It's 36.4.
36, could you please change
Like
to 36
36.
instead of 35? 36.
We are taking it from live. Maybe when we circulated it to you, it hasn't been updated, and it may have been updated as of Global Refugee Forum. Emina, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll
Claire?
make sure. Could you?
Claire, you don't have anything to say?
I do. So my only question, so that because we hope to post this today, if possible, and if there's anyone who doesn't agree with the statement, come and let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to assume that all of the organizations here are happy to have their organization names listed under the statement, and we're going to post it on the UNHCR page that talks about our work with religious leaders, and it's also going to be posted on the World Council of Churches website. And once that's posted, then we can share the link with you if you want to further share it with your followers. Is that okay? So just come and see me afterwards if you don't want your organization name to appear under. Otherwise, I'm going to assume that it's okay.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a good point. That's a good point. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mention peace, we must mention through reconciliation and forgiveness.
Yes, we did accept
so
that.
So we have not put it there. I think is para down.
Can we, dear colleagues, can we please go down on the statement? Thank you. There is a place, dreams for peace to their courage, dreams for
to
peace.
Their communities.
To their communities.
Dreams for peace to their communities through reconciliation and forgiveness.
Through reconciliation and forgiveness.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Through reconciliation and forgiveness.
Reconciliation and forgiveness. Reconciliation. And
no, forgiveness first. Through forgiveness and reconciliation. Through forgiveness and not reconciliation and forgiveness.
Forgiveness and reconciliation, yes. A friendly amendment, yes. So you are happy. I'm happy for you too.
Thank you. Yeah.
So courage, comma, and dreams. Add your Oxford comma.
Yeah.
So it's
Courage.
And we delete the "and" in the same sentence and put a comma instead. Sorry. Comma and end. Okay.
Any other input? Comment? If that's the case, if there is none,
and
no, it's not. I think we should endorse it. Are you ready to endorse? Just make a sign of your hands. Yes. Any abstention? None? Against? None? Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Now, in my closing remarks, I would like to thank each and every one of you for your input, for your wisdom, for your understanding, and for your future work that you are going to do for humanity. On behalf, inshallah, on behalf of humanity, on behalf of refugees, on behalf of displaced people, I thank you very much, and God bless you. You know, there is one thing. I can see God's picture on everyone's face here. There is God's picture on your face because you are good people. You are nice people. You are thinking about humanity. God bless you. My second point, it has been a pleasure for me. It has been a great pleasure for me to get to know my dear friend Shafak. And you know, we speak secret language. We do speak a language that I think here nobody understands. But there is something else even. We come from completely two different cultural backgrounds. Imagine a Turkish with an Armenian. Imagine. But she forced me to respect her because I saw on her face the smile that is the reflection of her heart. That this lady has been thinking of humanity non-stop for years and years and years. I cannot just stay without thanking her, blessing her, asking Almighty God to help her, to lead her, to give her strength, courage, wisdom, that she continue her mission. God bless you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to get to know you. It's a pleasure. Well,
thank you. Receiving all those very, very soul-stroking and pampering words coming from you, on behalf of all my colleagues who are working for the humanitarian cause, together with yourselves, we also consider you our colleagues now. So thank you very much.
You
very
know,
kind. And Archbishop, did you realize that at some point we were actually Armenian, Turkish, Greek, and Kurdish on the same stage?
Yeah, but
so it is possible.
Yeah, our Kurdish friend left because I was talking with him Kurdish, and he was shocked. How do you know Kurdish? I said, well, I know a little bit, but you know, as an Armenian, I have some confessions. I visited Armenia with the General Secretary of the World Council of Churches, Pillay, and the President of Swiss Protestant Churches. And we were at the border. We wanted to approach to Lachin corridor. And we were stopped by the Armenian army. They said, no. They said, there's snipers. Don't you see the snipers? I said, yes. They said, they're going to kill you, and we are responsible. I said, I'll be a hero. He said, you, please don't say anything, because you will be the first victim. I said, why? Because you have a black cassock on you. And the others, they don't have, you know. I said, well, okay. And while we were there, the bombardment started. The bombardment started. And within 6 days, 120,000 people were evacuated from their country of origin, country of 3,000 years. But I have to tell you, I have no hatred for Azeris, and I ask God to forgive them for their mistake. Because if I don't forgive them, I'm not happy. I will suffer, and I don't want to suffer. Therefore, I don't want anybody else also to suffer. I need your prayers for humanity, for Armenia, for my people. And I need your leadership in this world. The world is very rich because the world has people like you. God bless you. Thank you very much.
And we, of course, as UNHCR, we are looking forward to be the host for the coming days for yourselves. We expect you to be at Palexpo at the latest at 8:30, even before, if possible, because the plenary will start at 9, the opening plenary, and there will be queues. So I'm looking at my colleague, Claire. Claire, could you please stand? So you will be there. We'll be there and greeting you. If there's anything, we'll be there for yourselves. Please reach us anytime through our mobiles. Thank you very much for your time and your commitment. Thank you.